Okay, welcome. Pnimis HaTorah, or my sad excuse for Pnimis HaTorah. I was like, no, I was going to give him a hakdama, but why I'm saying it like that because Hadambar, I'm sure is very much not into like being into Pnimis. So to call Pnimis is shtickle ha'azah. So I just want to take a step back and say we may have named the shir Pnimis HaTorah, but this is our madrega. This is what we'll call our unzer pnimis. But real pnimis HaTorah is a lot more pnimi than anything I could ever even come up with. And but the idea is to dream a little bit. Thursday night is time to start dreaming. Shabbos Kodesh is a dream. We have to start getting into the world of dreaming of dveikis and high level things. If you dream about high level things, then maybe you have some sort of nigia. So we'll call this the negia of Pnimis HaTorah, a little negia, a try, an attempt to some sort of negia. Tonight is Zayin Adar, and Zayin Adar is the birthday and the yard set of Moshe Rabbeinu. And the Gemara says, I heard it from Rabbi Shor last week. He said over the Gemara Megillah says, Shabbos before Shchai, because Haman wanted to buy out Klal Yisrael's chutzpah with his Asar Salafim Kikar Kesef, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu said, Kvar hikdamnu the shkalim of Klal Yisrael l'shkalecha, and Memela we lay in the Parshas Shkalim right before Adar, because the Schus L'Shkalim was what overrode Haman's Schus, Haman's attempt to buy a Klal Yisrael. So we immediately have the entire Chodesh Adar, right? Is misugel to tap into the Schusim of what overrides Haman. Okay, meaning again, Haman is Amalek, right? And this is what we contend with. And Adar is a time already that contends with the whole month has in it the being maskir, the schus of shkalim from the very beginning of the month. This month is mesugel to go kineged Haman. All right, that we don't just lay Parshas right before Purim. The entire month is a month that's mesugel to go kineged Haman, kineged Amalek. The schus to go kineged Amalek ultimately is Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Like the Gemara says that when Moshe Rabbeinu, when the poor fell out on Adar, so Haman was very excited. Adar is a month shemeis by Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu's niftar. Yoda, right? Not only was it the month that Moshe Rabbeinu was niftar, but also it's also the month that Moshe Rabbeinu was born. And Mimela, it's a schus for Klal Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu was born. So also the remez over here, Rabbi Shor pointed out. It's a good remez. The entire Chodesh Adar, right? Haman was excited. The entire Chodesh Adar has in Moshe Rabbeinu. It has to do with Moshe Rabbeinu, and he looked at Adar from the negative standpoint, and it's a Chodesh shemeis by Moshe Rabbeinu. State name Adar is a Chodesh noiled by Moshe Rabbeinu, and the entire month has the kedusha, has the ha'ara, the chusim of Moshe Rabbeinu. So Zayin Adar is a big day. It is the day. But ultimately, Zayin Adar, we find from Chazal, like I just spoke out, that's nispashet in the entire month of Adar has in it this inyan of Moshe Rabbeinu, which started already from the Schus of Moshe Rabbeinu, started from Rosh Chodesh, and the entire month of Adar is connected to Moshe Rabbeinu. The inyan of Moshe Rabbeinu's connection to us, we call Moshe Rabbeinu, is the lashon of the Sfar HaKadoshim. I'm sure it's a Zayin many places. Moshe Rabbeinu was kailel all nishmais Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu was really the neshamas of Klal Yisrael were all nichlal in Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu is kilu like some sort of av that every person in Klal Yisrael is like a splinter off the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu. we find that the famous Chazal we say on Shabbos, Yismach Moshe manas chelkai, Kevin Neman karasalai. Yismach Moshe was Yismach manas chelkai. That Moshe Rabbeinu, he was zeichet to all the mitzvahs of Klal Yisrael. The Moshe Rabbeinu was Moshe Nefesh. He saved Klal Yisrael. He was Omed B'Peretz. When I think of Moshe Rabbeinu, I think of Moshe Rabbeinu's famous words: "V'mayim mecheni nam misivcha shekasafta." Moshe Rabbeinu put himself, he was Moshe Nefesh mamish for Klal Yisrael. And with this, Moshe Rabbeinu, he was kind of all his Klal Yisrael's chuyos. However, he ever neman karasalai. Moshe Rabbeinu, he willingly gives back all his. He's an ever neman. He's neman to Klal Yisrael. Despite the fact that he got matnas chelki, he was zeicha to all of Klal Yisrael's schusim. He willingly gives it back, all the schusim to Klal Yisrael. So Moshe Rabbeinu is the literally he's what was Ayman the parents for Klal Yisrael, and then he gave back all his schusim to Klal Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu, Lashon Azar is that Nishmasa de Moshe Rabbeinu is nispashet. I think Lashon nispashet b'chol dar. Moshe Rabbeinu is not a person who came and went, right? Like we see from the Lashon Chazal. Adar is a chaydish that Moshe Rabbeinu was noilad, right? L'chayr Haman's right. Fine, he was noilad, but he was nifter, right? So it came to an end. There was a good streak, but it came to an end. Nay, chaydish noilad by Moshe Rabbeinu means Moshe Rabbeinu's is every year is Nachamol in Adar. Hasn't it's chus of Moshe's Tailad because tzaddikim don't die. Tzaddikim just go to the Misa is the Tailada to next Madrega. So Moshe Rabbeinu leaves this world. But in the Ruchnistic world, in the Olam HaRuchni that we live in, that we're so connected to, Moshe Rabbeinu is alive and well, and the Chaydish of Adar is a Chaydish where Moshe Rabbeinu's Tailada, he was nailed again, Darchas Misa. That was someone's mistake. Rabbi Shor spoke this out. That a guy can't say that Misa is not the end, right? There used to be a fellow used to hang around everybody. His name was Moshe Kurtz Alav Shalom. And I used to hang out in Yeshiva over here a few years back. An interesting person, had a very difficult life, and he used to go around saying Musa to everybody. And he said
the Kabbalah by Frankel.
He said, yeah, he's saying, yeah. So he said he was once driving in a car with Rav Don Segel, and they passed the street. It says on a dead end. So Rav Don he comments. He says the Olam makes a big mistake. They think that is the end. He said that is not the end. It's just the beginning. And so that's sort of what's brought out by this point that Moshe Rabbeinu's Misa. It's a chaydish shenolad by Moshe Rabbeinu. So that was Moshe that we find that a Kadosh Baruch Hu is memal shneisiv shel tzaddikim. Tzaddikim, right? The Parshas is right. The day that they're born is the day that they die. So what's the pshat? That either the pshat could be a lot of tzaddikim don't die on their birthdays, right? The teretz is that the day that they die is the day that they're born again, right? So that's his memal shneisiv, because despite the fact on the calendar it may not be the same day, right? But the idea is their misa is a new Tailada, right? And that's the Kaddish of Malish and the Shnei because their misa is just a new Tailada. But the pshat could be, well, the Zayin's taka add up, and there is this musik that even on the calendar, tzaddikim die on the same day that they're actually born, because hagufa, right? That a person can only have one birthday. So if a tzaddik is born on is being born on Zayin Adar, and he's going to die in Zayin Adar, his dying is just another Teilada. So Mela is going to be, his birthday is always going to be the same day, right? So Mela, it's going to be the Indian, even on the calendar. Zayin Adar is the day where Moshe Rabbeinu was born, and then subsequently nifter and born again.
So that's what they're saying, that Haman made a mistake. He thought that he died on Zayin Adar. Really, they're saying no, he was born on Zayin Adar after he died. Was born into
meaning Moshe's chus is not diminished.
Even if he didn't actually was born the first time as Zayin Adar, he would have still been Naila anew the moment that he died.
You could say that. Okay, interesting. I think we have. Do we have any riots that he's born on Zayin Adar? The
only riot is the Gemara.
No, Adar, Nisan, Iyar. So Zayin Sivan would be the day that they put him into the R. When it says Tisbnei Shloshi Rachim. I wondered if any.
Do we know if there's an Adar off or Adar bid?
Yeah.
Born in the beginning, the 7th month.
Right. So it said that it's Tisbnei Shloshi Rachim, and then they put him into the R. Right. So it could be there's a Chazal says that was Shavuos. As I couldn't it would have been Shavuos. But you're right. I'm saying, is there, what you're saying is, how do we even know Moshe Rabbeinu was born in Zayin Adar, other than the fact that we know he died in Zayin Adar? So do we just say, do we assume? We actually said that May Vesem Shana Noicha Hayom. He says it's his birthday. Yeah. So there's a rive. So it does say Beferish. This Indian of Moshe Rabbeinu, connecting to Moshe Rabbeinu is the idea to connect to every gadol, every tzaddik is a bechin of Moshe Rabbeinu. It's well known that the Gemara sometimes says Moshe Shapik Amrit. Right, it's a couple places in Shas. One Amari refers to the other Amari who says a good pshat in Torah. He refers to him as Moshe. That he refers to him as Moshe, because when a person is mechadish Torah, it's only mikayach. The neshama of Moshe is kilu. It comes alive in the tzaddik, and now he has a kayach mechadish Torah. To mechadish Torah, any chiddush in Torah ultimately is a connection, is a negia to Moshe Rabbeinu. This is the idea that Moshe Rabbeinu, he saw Masha called Talmud Vasik also the Chadesh. He saw everything that we're going to be Chadesh. Not that he was giving a blick of the future, but he himself, right? It was a chelik of himself that was coming to Lamaisa when that Chiddush is being said. Ultimately, Mikayach his neshama. This idea of being davak to tzaddikim. Ultimately, all the tzaddikim of Adar are klalos kol nishmais Yisrael. Yeah, that's the thing about tzaddik. A tzaddik is a klal of neshama. So that's how people become connected to tzaddikim, because they ultimately are the Indian of where you say the tzaddik hadar, right? And especially of Alpi Chasidus tzaddik hadar. The Indian of a tzaddik is that he's some sort of his skalus of his talmidim. So the Noam says an interesting shtickle over here. The Gemara says as follows. In fact, the Gemara, Mark Subis, Gemara in other places, it says you should be davak into Hashem. You should connect to Hashem. In fact, how can you be davak to Hashem? Kadosh Baruch Hu is Eisha Eichla. You can't be davak in Eisha Eichla. Ella come and davak ask with Tam Chacham. Mala lava kasu kilu dibek atzmei b'ashchina. Okay, so the idea is Batem advekim b'Hashem Elokeichem is to be davak in Talmid Chacham. So interesting enough, Rabbi Shor said over from, I think he said over from the Sfas Emes. He said over like last week, 2 weeks ago. He said over that l'chayra, how the Gemara answer the question, right? Hakadosh Baruch Hu is Eish. You can't be davak if Hakadosh Baruch Hu is Eish. So how do you be davak in Talmid Chacham? He's also Eish, right? He says that yeah. So I think he said over. I forgot the reference. He says it's like how the Gemara answer the kasha. Like you be davak in Eish, you can't be davak in Eish. Hakadosh Baruch Hu is Eish. But Talmid Chacham is also Eish. So it's 100 kushal duchta. So he says that the Gemara says Meduik Ella he dabek b'talmid b'chachamim v'talmideihem, right? That avadi you can't be dabek in the chacham alein. You have to find the Talmud of the chacham, and the Talmud is like the buffer between the Rebbe and the more pasha the person. How is a Talmud dabek in the chacham? That you have to know, but an embassy Talmud knows how to be davak without being burnt. He knows the ropes. When talk to stop people, give them advice on how to start the dvekus process, they have to have that buffer. So that was what he said. I think on the Sfas Emes. He says that he makes the same statement. He just says a little bit different. He says as following. He says, "Be'emes on Talmid Chacham itself, there's no kasha how the Talmid Chacham is davak Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Because the Talmid Chacham is not Eish, because he learns Torah, and Torah is Eish, so he becomes a Chefetz of Eish. And mainly, if Talmid Chacham becomes a Chefetz of Eish, it's not schwer how does the Talmid Chacham to be davak by Hakadosh Baruch Hu. He says, but the Shakash is a regular people. How the Torah says, Everyone should be Davik HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How does a regular person go about being Davik HaKadosh Baruch Hu? So he said that the Gemara answers, regular people, they're medabik themselves to the Talmud Chacham. How are they medabik themselves to the Talmud Chacham? They come to the Shiurim and they look to benefit them. Okay, that's how he touches up the pasuk about Hemet Veikim.
You see, even by Meshach, they couldn't even approach me at the front of Mat. Couldn't even.
Right.
But we don't see necessarily that they went to Yeshua.
Yeah, that's what Moshe made after the Canaan. Yeah, Moshe taught them the Canaan, but the Canaan were actually ultimately, transmitted Torah. So he wants me to write this in the pasuk of Vichuli Chuma. Right, Vichuli state. What's Vichuli? You have to be done with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You have to kaviyocha. You have to latch on to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zok Rashi, Li is Lishmi, right? Hashem himself. You have to be done with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the kash is bazei l'chayra v'chiyashal adam davik b'HaKadosh Baruch Hu halay eish. So it says Yichuli Truma, right? Yichuli Truma. Truma he brings down from the Baal Tum. Truma refers to Torah, which refers to the Talmud Chacham. Truma is Isis Torah Mem. It's a Torah that was given Mem Yom B'Sinai. And he says, Vikli Truma Me'es Kol Ish. Right? The tzaddik is called Kol Ish. You could get Torah, right? Me'es Kol Ish, from the tzaddik with Nikul Kol Ish. Why is it not a Kol Ish? Like we said previously, a tzaddik is his kalos of all Nishmei Yisrael. Right, and that's Moshe Rabbeinu. His scholar is called Nishmei Yisrael, and every tzaddik has a bechina Moshe Shapik Karmet in today's door. And Memel, if you davuk to tzaddikim, right, then Me'es Kol Ish Sheyidvenu Liboy, right, he's always davuk to Kadosh Baruch Hu. Memel, through him, Tikchu es Chumasi. Through there, you could connect to Kadosh Baruch Hu. And he says also, besides the fact, he says over a little caveat over here. Besides the fact that a person davik and Talmud Chacham and a tzaddik, this is his gateway to being davik and a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Right? Not only that, when you davik and a tzaddik, you get the next pasuk. V'zayis hachuma shetikhu itam, right? Zav v'kesef u'nechayshas. Which describes that when a person is davik to Talmud Chacham, besides the fact that he gets a connection to Kadosh Baruch Hu, this is the only connection to Kadosh Baruch Hu. From there comes a tremendous amount of shefa in his parnasa and in Yoni Gashmias of Zav, V'Kasef, Unachayshas. So I recommend everyone to find a great tzaddik to be
local Orthodox tzaddik
and be zeicha to all these gewaldige brachas. The Amen.
I'm gonna run.
Okay, so that's Lucha steig away. Okay.
I got the Nacht Shabbos.
I got the Nacht Shabbos. He says, let's just read one more shtickle over here from the Minhag. Then we'll say a little bit about Adar from the Bnei Yisachar. I'm used to talking to myself. Marked by it. Here. He says, I'll talk a little bit about how the Imre Noam brings down from the Chayz Lublin. I don't think we said from the Chayz Lublin in a long time. The Chayz Lublin, the Taicha Bikli Chuma Meis Kalisha Shed Ven Libai. He uses this pasuk to touch up a pshat from the Chayz Lublin. Chayz Lublin makes the following statement. The pasuk says, I say, "Minishmarti moedlen afshay seichem, ki lo yisim kol tmuna." Okay, the pasuk says in the Varim, let's read the pasuk. The pasuk says you have to be very careful, guard your life. Ki lo yisim kol tmuna. Right, by Hasina, you did not see any form of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So he asks, what's the shaykhs? Right, you have to be mishpat, what nafshay seichem. Right, what does that have to do with anything? Kilar reason called Tmuna. What's the hemshach of the pasuk? Kilar reason called Tmuna. Because you didn't see Hashem, so now to be mishpat, what nafshay seichem. So he says, Azay. that a person who throws himself into Avodas Hashem. So it says Avodas Hashem is what? You should throw yourself into it so totally that you give no care to your gashmias. You don't take care of your health. You don't sleep. You don't eat. You should throw yourself into it totally, become a malach, and forget about being a person. So the pasuk name, you have to be very careful in your Avodas Hashem. What's the raya? Because just because you're entering with a Avodas Hashem into the world of malachim, you're talking going up to you go every time you do a mitzvah and you learn, you're being David HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're leaving this world. But when you leave this world to Hashem's world, you don't change your tzura. You have to keep the tzura Adam. You have to take care of yourself. What's the right? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu did the opposite. HaKadosh Baruch Hu came down from Shemayim and Har Sinai. And we find when HaKadosh Baruch Hu came down from Har Sinai, he didn't change his tzura. He was kula ruchni, kula risim kol tmuni. He didn't see HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a gashmitic fashion. So just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he makes the trip from Shemayim to Aretz, he doesn't change his mitzias. So to a person, when he does his Avodas Hashem, he has to assure that he takes care of his gashmias and not change his tzura. Okay, that's how he touches it up. However, he says, when it comes to davening is a different story, because there was one exception by Matan Torah. What was the one exception that they observed something that wasn't really observable? Bilti Koil. They saw the Koil. Right? Koilus they saw. So when it comes to Koil, which is Tefillah, right? A person's dveikus b'shas Tefillah has to be a Zayin. You learn by Kadosh Baruch Hu. The Koil of Kadosh Baruch Hu came down to Mazeh, wasn't skashim. So when your Koil goes up to Shemayim, it should become Kulei Ruchni. So when it comes to davening, you have to allow yourself to totally disconnect, and the person's mindset, b'shas davening, is garnished. There's nothing.
You just daven internally, or you're the same.
We'll talk about your mindset. We're talking about the way you mischash with yourself. The mindset to is saying things, right? But we're talking about your mindset of where you're holding, right? That you get there's total abandon. Tefillah is meant to be with total abandon. When you're standing in front of Hashem davening, there's no goof, right? A person doesn't say, "Rebbe Shalom, I need a car, I need this, I need that," right? A person is the highest level of tefillah is that he's totally standing in Shemayim. He doesn't even recognize there's a place called Aretz. There isn't even a person with a goof over here just in the Neshama standing in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's what you learn out. It says, right? Called Tmuna, right? Bilti curls is the lashon, not this pasuk, but it says it someplace else. Okay. So he says what comes out of this is that the kitzur b'shas davening, you have to be totally gone, right? The goal of davening is dveikus is meant to be to the max. When you saw Mesilas Yesharim, right? It sounds like what I'm gonna have some sort of out of body experience, right? To connect to Kadosh Baruch Hu. What is tefillah? Tefillah is connecting to Kadosh Baruch Hu in a very real way, right? Connecting to Kadosh Baruch Hu in a very real way means leaving a gashmis totally behind. So we saw Mesilas Yesharim recently says it's a lashon that anyone who has, what's the lashon is mach? He has seichel nochain, right? And seichel nochain, right? B'ma'at his beinus, right? With a little bit of contemplation, a person can have the ability of literally be mevatel his normal perception and come to some sort of perception of literally this is something that a person needs to do ultimately. If you're going to daven like I mentioned, you have to reach a little higher. You have to reach into yourself and a little hisbindness and really picture the Yom B'fnei HaMelech and who HaKadosh Baruch Hu is and how great he is, and be able to really this emotional connection to trickle that into something very real. And that is really what the Chayz Milbun is saying is the avodah of tefillah. Avodah of tefillah is that Azavi, the curl was niskashim in Matan Torah. Our curl has to be totally ruchni when it comes to our tefillah. So he says Rambam is in the pasuk of Yichuli Terumah. He says Terumah is b'gematria called tefillah. They say just as when it comes to davening, we have to be like malachim, right? Malachim are Oisem malach of ruchos, mishars of eish loyhet, we say, right? His malachim are ruach and eish. People, right? They're made out of fire and wind. People have one of these sides which really drags us down, which is offer. When it comes to tefillah, you have to be mevatel your Yisod HaOfer, and you have to rise yourself up to the madrega of a malach of Eish and Ruach. That's the goal. That your offer, which it pulls you down, which drags you down, you have to be mevatel that, and you have to enter into the Eish Ruach matzah. He says, Mele, the Ramaz Marazeh, V'yichuli Chuma is Kol Tefillah. Okay, so when you come into daven, V'yichuli, you have to have a complete connection to me Chuma in your davening and Kol Tefillah. Eish Ruach is a gematria Tefillah. Tefillah is meant to be with the Yisod of Eish Ruach, which means that the Yisod, the offer, is totally diminished. This is what Rashi says, V'yichuli Lishmi, Ki Shmi is gematria offer. Okay, so it said the Yikhuli, you have to remove, you have to bring up the Yisod offer to Truma, to the Kol Tefillah, which is ultimately Eish and Ruach, and Mimavato, the offer to the Eish and Ruach. And with this, a person has an ability to totally get ignited emotionally. It's his Avos Hashem and his Tefillah, and with this Tefillahs are Bez Hashem Nishma Mishpi Zeicher. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Tefillahs Chus Moshe Rabbeinu Mishpi Zeicher.